Hello, and welcome back to Beasts and Beyonds. I am your host, Asherz. Joining me this week as my co host, not just one, I got two of them. I've got Flood from XV Planets. Let's say hi.
Hello.
And then I've got Sonnie. And Sonnie, I believe you are also from XV Planets. Is that right?
Correct. Hello, hello.
Okay. Okay. Well, welcome. I am going to avoid saying that I'm excited because I've said that every single episode this season, but
But you are.
I am. Yes. How'd you know? Um, so surprising, unpredictable. I know. This is actually the season finale of Beasts and Beyonds. I can't believe I did it.
Yay.
Thank you, thank you.
Yeah.
No, it's been fucking fantastic actually. Having everybody on and having everybody share their topics and just kind of taking a breather to go do something different for a while has been nice. Of course, the Wednesday show is every week, but this has felt a little more like talking to friends. I guess the Wednesday show. Don't let me say that they're not my friends. They are, but
Oh, hey, but
um,
that's accurate. You and I have had this discussion. Like Wednesdays, we talk weird. That's your baby, just like XV
right.
Planets is mine. But when we get together and do this, you're right. It's very similar. Just a bunch of friends sitting around a table having some drinks and talking weird.
It's refreshing, right?
It
I mean, it
is.
feels good. And if it feels good, do it. So here we are. Of course, this won't be the last that you'll hear of the show. It will be back. I can't promise you when. But it's been great. If you guys want to drop some feedback, definitely do that. You can hit me up. You can hit up any of the great hosts here, or that you've heard over the course of the season of the show, and just let us know what you think. Let me know. What do you guys think of the go hosts? Did you hate them? Did you love them? I'll take both. Um, I don't think anybody was hate worthy. But anyway, I'll stop blabbering on. Again, the difference between this and the Wednesday show is the cut of the blabber. Let's get into the Rougarou. Flood, why'd you choose the Rougarou?
Rougarou. Um, well, I mean, I chose it because I grew up in the South, and this is kind of a part of local folklore for us. And I can tell you right now that even though we're tackling the Rougarou, this is just the tip of the iceberg. So each season, Asher's, with your permission, I'm going to come back and we're going to go a little bit further every year with the Rougarou because there's a lot to unpack here.
Okay, sure. And you did something a little differently than the other co-host did. You phoned a friend.
Yeah, yeah. Well, I mean, Sonny here has definitely got some background and experience regarding the Rougarou, and actually has brought some stories tonight that we're gonna get into. Um, and I've got a lot of other people who reached out when they found out that I was digging into the Rougarou. They're like, "Oh man, I hope you have several long weekends because there's a lot." And so people have been sending me books. There's a lot of really interesting information here, and we're going to go into it pretty hard tonight. But at the same time, this is still just scratching the surface. So this is going to be fun.
Yeah, absolutely. This is the second canine that we discussed this season. So with the other co-host Jeremy, we did Phantom Black Dogs, and we only did like a tiny portion of that lore. So oh, okay. Um it won't be um it won't be something that we're going to shy away from in future seasons. I mean, if there's more to tell, we're going to tell it, and sometimes you need more than an hour to tell these stories. So I can definitely appreciate that. Um,
Absolutely, and especially like somewhere down the line, we're going to get Aaron Deese into this conversation with us as well.
oh yeah, I think eventually having us all do like a round table on various anomalous canines would be super interesting.
Mm-hmm.
Just everybody kind of bringing their own perspective to it, and what they've learned. And I think it's exciting to have a bunch of us covering the same topic. Fucking color me crazy, but I get exhausted studying the same thing alone.
Oh,
So
absolutely, and that's the great thing about what at least what you and I have found within our little niche of the our niche of the paranormal community is we function a little bit differently in the sense that we all help each other out and we all share information and we all learn from each other, and at the same time we have a lot to offer one another.
yeah, absolutely, absolutely. Well, let's get into it. Go ahead and start us off.
Yeah, sure. All right, so the Rougarou are, you know, ye old southern werewolf, perhaps. Most people who grew up in the deep and dirty South, and particularly in Louisiana, have heard of the Rougarou. In our youth, it was often told as a typical local folklore cautionary tale, and Sonny, I'm sure you can speak to this as well. Or even the Honey Island Swamp Monster, which is a whole other episode, unless. Wait, do you think they're cousins, Sonny?
Maybe. Distant.
That's interesting, because isn't the Honey Island Swamp Monster supposed to be like a Bigfoot?
Yeah, but at the same time, a lot of people would say that the Rougarou is very similar to a Bigfoot. The only difference is that the head is more ape-like than it is canine.
Okay, sure.
And that also kind of tacks into some other southern strange creatures. Isn't that right, Sonny?
Yes, so there are two more Cajun folklore creatures that I thought were interesting. So there's a lutan, which is a trickster spirit. Some people describe him as a hobgoblin. They like to hide keys, braid horses' hair, because apparently they're obsessed with horses, and stir up other mischief. Then there's the Fifole, which is a mesmerizing orb in the swamps that lures the watcher to follow until they get lost. So that's kind of their goal there. But they're both definitely prevalent still.
Which that last one definitely sounds very familiar to me. Sounds a lot like some of the weird crap that I saw after we got back from Uinta Basin. Ugh. All right. Well, back to our furry man friend. The Rougarou is often described as a creature with the body of a man and the head of a wolf. And the Rougarou prowls around the swamps and bayous of Louisiana looking for misbehaving children that will disobey their parents. Or at least that's what our parents told us. It's kind of like a southern fried werewolf, Baba Yaga, or Krampus sans holidays. Though the physical descriptions will likely have you reeling through images of werewolves and skinwalkers in your mind's slideshow. But there's a lot to unpack of the Rougarou than it's just another dogman and werewolf. And before we go barreling into the southern folklore of the subject, though, let's tackle the deeper history. And I figured a good place to start would be the etymology of the word Rougarou. And that alone gives us a little insight to its origins. The story of this fabled cryptid, which has also been referred to as the Loup-garou, is not necessarily unique to southern Louisiana. It seemed to have traveled from France to anywhere the French people settled. Loup is French for wolf, and garou comes from the Frankish word garulf, both of which roughly translate to werewolf, to my great amusement. The menacing half-human, half-animal mythical beast appears in French lore as early as the Renaissance period, but perhaps even sooner. Fun fact, some people say that the fabled beast of Asherz, maybe you can help us. I can never get the pronunciation right. The Gevadon?
I think it's Guavadon, but I don't know if that's true. At least you're not a white person. You're not like Jervuden.
I'll just be honest and say I have no clue. But this may have also been an origin of this classical European folktale in some sort. And that is definitely a subject I want to tackle on a deep dive in a little further down the line, by the way. But anyway, apparently the furry fiend had a thing for naughty children, or Catholics who didn't practice Lent for 7 consecutive years.
Not the Messiah. He's a very naughty boy.
And those poor practitioners might find themselves turned into one in due time for wavering from their faith. For example, people who did not confess during Easter could be cursed to become werewolves.
Yeah, I definitely grew up hearing, you better behave or the Rougarou is going to come and get you.
Honestly, whenever they brought Easter into this, I was really, really hoping that my research would have taken me into the path of were-rabbits, but no luck.
No were-rabbits. Well,
no, not yet.
The
not
Easter
yet,
bunny kind of is in and of itself, right? Because it is, I would say, pretty humanoid.
Holy shit, we should do an episode on the Easter bunny.
Yeah, you're not wrong. You're not wrong.
It's terrifying. It really is.
There are alleged reports of people seeing for real the Easter bunny, just like we did for Christmas time. Tobias Whalen did his Yuletide Guide to High Strangeness book,
which was great.
Right, fantastic. And he covers Santa Claus sightings, and we talked about it on the show, and I mean it does happen. And I'll tell you, I came across like a whole thread on Reddit one time, and it was people saying that they've seen Santa, they've seen the Easter Bunny, things like that. And anyway, it would make for a great episode. I do find it really interesting how these creatures, because if you guys go back and you listen to, it was last week's episode when we did the Phantom Black Dogs, the Catholic origins of these creatures. What is it about canines? Why do they have this weird obsession with them? In their lore, I don't understand. Is that like a part? Is that something biblical?
I don't know, but I mean, let us not forget Nostradamus famously predicted that somewhere down the line, a giant dog would become pope and would fulfill its job as a canine pope.
I
I
might
support
convert
that.
to Catholicism. I mean, that would work.
You know what? I most dogs I know are better than humans, so I'll take it.
Very true. Very true. Yeah, I mean, to my knowledge, there is no, Cerberus in the Bible, right? They don't have anything equivalent to that as far as I know.
Not until you get into like Book of Revelation, which is all just metaphoric imagery,
Yeah, I mean, it's super interesting. So I just wanted to, just kind of notate that, like the black shuck, that's very much like a Catholic kind of belief. Is so weird. And there's really it doesn't really come from anywhere, except maybe if people are seeing these weird canine creatures. I don't know. And trying to come up with explanations for them on their own. But that's just me.
Which I honestly, I have theories as to why these canine cryptids are becoming more prevalent. We'll tackle that a little bit later, but I do have a theory as to what's really going on there.
Okay, all right. Well, then continue. Don't let me cut you off and get you off your roll there.
Are you kidding? I come here for the tangents. Like, that's the reason I'm doing this with you. I don't
Fair
have
enough.
to be stuffy on this show.
Okay, well then, so Pope Dog, when's this happening?
Pope Dogs. That's a t-shirt. That's a t-shirt right there. The Pope
It
Dog.
is, yeah. I agree.
100%. You can probably find the first prints at Monster Fest too.
Ooh.
I'm on it.
All right, yeah. Let's do it, man.
Yeah, somebody make Pope Dogs, please. I don't care who.
All right.
Happen.
All right, so going back to these poor Catholics who didn't confess on Easter and were cursed. Apparently this curse or this spell could last for as long as 101 days. Very specific. It would take hold of the victim every evening, which is definitely a departure from typical werewolf lore. It didn't follow the cycles of the moon, but they were still forced to wander the countryside in a half-human, half-animal form until daybreak. Of course, those who didn't believe in the Rougarou is real is merely said that these are fables that were made up to scare people into behaving. Because we all know that's never happened with organized religion, right?
Yeah, I mean, come on.
Yeah. Going back to our Easter bit for 1 second, nobody ever bothers to make mention of zombie Jesus, and I'm appalled. I really am.
I agree. I mean, if we're gonna celebrate any aspect of Easter, it should be zombie Jesus.
Fuck yeah, man, absolutely. Were rabbits, zombie Jesus. Holy crap! I see a great script coming together.
Well, it is
right
a second. Well, I guess it's technically first Halloween of the year,
now.
but that's really it, right?
First Halloween. Honestly, that's accurate because there are few things in the world, visually speaking, that terrify me more than vintage Easter Bunny family photos.
I think they're neat.
I mean, don't get me wrong, they're neat, but they're fucking horrifying.
So, let me go off on a random tangent. It's going to seem very random. It's not. I'm going to tell you a story. So there is this ice cream place in West Virginia. It's called Ice Cream. And all of their ice cream dishes are huge and elaborate, and they're all horror themed. It's fucking fantastic.
Oh, I love it.
They have 2 bathrooms. One is just a plain bathroom. It's kind of, in the front of the lobby. You can go in and out of it. The second one is not. It's all lit by very dark lights, and there's a clown standing in the bathroom with you. And it's like a one-off bathroom. I tried to use that bathroom. I couldn't. I mean, it's not a person, but it's a huge clown in the bathroom with you. Anyway, I think I should get some of those vintage Easter bunny photos and I should outfit my whole bathroom with them. Just like cover the walls completely. Scare the shit out of anybody that comes over.
I am never coming over. Seriously,
I
that's like a
love
hard. It's a hard line in the sand. I love finding them to scare the crap out of other people. Don't do it to me. Don't do it to me.
I only have one bathroom too, so you're fucked. I mean, you either go in front of the scary rabbits or you don't.
What's funny is that every time that I see these things, the first thing that pops into my mind is not the horror of Easter, but it's Monty Python. Yeah. Oh, it's just a harmless little bunny, hey? Oh, yeah. All right, all right. So let's get away from rabbits and back to dogs.
Sure.
Let's get up to more recent history, and now we'll turn our attention over to North America. As French migrants made their way to North America, their folklore and traditional stories followed, and further north in the French-Canadian version of the folklore, the loup-garou may also take the form of a calf or small ox, a pig, a cat, or even an owl. But canine seems to be the choice form, much like the skinwalkers of the Southwest. But can we get an otter? Like, I'll take an owl for sure, as we all know. Like, diehard Twin Peaks fan here, really. But can we get a were-otter? It
There's
just seems
the
horrible.
Kushtaka, and I think that's P&W area. It's like Otter Man, kind of. But it's not like a human that turns into an otter. And that's Native American lore, but it exists, kind of.
There is
Actually, I haven't
technically a were owl in Louisiana. It's called a Rougarou.
Do they
Oh, so-
all just have garou on them?
Yeah, well, that's the
Yeah.
were part,
Gotcha.
essentially.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I understand. I don't know.
Hibougarou.
I'm in
Okay.
Ohio, you know.
Ohio is plenty weird. I think we all know that.
It is, but we don't have cool names for stuff.
Oh.
They're just like, did you see
Something-
John turned into an owl right in front of my eyes? That's Ohio, you know.
But that's interesting though. Like it's not just stuck to canines, although it does seem to keep going back to that. That seems to be the main focus of this
Sure.
hybrid concept. Well, as with traditional European beliefs, the northern French Canadian interpretation of this seemingly immortal and transcontinental beast known as the loup-garou is tied to Catholic morality. As we mentioned earlier, a religious failing was often linked to the loup-garou curse. And in France, only a shedding of blood could free a cursed man. French Canadian and French Canadian and American loup-garou stories were generally less violent than traditional French stories, historically speaking. That is until modern day media and sensationalism, but we'll get to that in a minute. The tone of the tale changed again when the lore followed the French south, deep into the swamps and bayous of the land that would eventually become known to, in the modern sense, as the great state of Louisiana. According to legend, the loup-garou traveled to southern Louisiana with the Acadian people who were exiled from French Canada. In time and through evolution of local dialect, the name evolved into Rougarou, though you may hear reference to both. It's also been noted that it's not strictly a werewolf-type entity. It can shapeshift into any animal, as we mentioned earlier, that the bayou calls home. And as mentioned, the mythical creature doesn't seem to be as violent as your run-of-the-mill werewolf from the silver screen. It prefers to wreak havoc by destroying property or passing its curse on to someone else so that it will leave them. However, the lore gets a little wackier the further south and the further through time we travel. Now, a Vermilionville. Sonnie, where is Vermilionville? Are you familiar with that?
I think that's a little bit north of the coast. I think that's near Lafayette, actually.
Okay, all right, yeah, that makes sense. So, Vermilionville informational pamphlet for children reads, "The legend says that when a person comes into contact with a loup-garou and sheds the blood of the beast, the loup-garou will then change to its human form and reveal its secret. The victim then becomes a loup-garou for 101 days. And if the victim speaks of the encounter to anyone, it becomes a loup-garou. But if he remains quiet about it, he returns to his human form and continues on with his life." Which is odd. In the legends, the loup-garou is said to be someone the victim knows, such as a jealous former friend. Like many creatures of the night, it resumes its human form when the sun comes up. So here we are now, weaving the older tales of folklore into the modern retelling, where the Rougarou becomes the Rougarou.
Interesting. So, I think I'm understanding correctly. You can pass on your own curse onto someone else, or you are still cursed for 101 days no matter what.
If you can pass it on to someone, and then you are relieved of the curse, but now that 101-day cycle starts up with the new victim that you passed it on to.
Gotcha. Okay.
For
Well, I
instance,
mean,
there's a relevant tale that kind of explains this. So, like, a man cut a Rougarou's arm with an oyster knife, of course, we're in Louisiana. Then the next day, he was walking along and saw his uncle on a boat. Well, the uncle's arm was all bandaged up. And turns out that the curse ended up going from the uncle to the man that cut him with the oyster knife.
Ah,
Does that make sense?
interest. Oh,
yeah.
I'm Googling an oyster knife right now because I'm curious. Are they deadly?
No, it's
I
like
mean,
it's a small knife.
and it's actually relatively pretty dulled. I mean, they're
Yeah,
meant for prying and shucking oysters, so it's not like razor sharp.
I'm looking at it right now. Just out of curiosity, how much damage that could do.
I mean, you piss anyone off enough, you can make some damage out of it.
That's very
Not,
true.
Depends how much
That's
force.
it's not like my professional life. I don't spend 12 hours a day playing with knives or anything. So
You? I had no idea.
sharp,
Uh,
pointy things. Yes, I used to be a chef, but we don't call me that anymore.
well, you can definitely do some damage with an oyster knife. So if you cut someone that okay, but okay, hold on. I'm gathering my thoughts here. I'm just trying to insert some logic into it, trying to be the voice of reason. So, say you pass on your curse to someone else, okay, and you know who this person is. Well, you can also pass your curse on to someone else by revealing that you have the curse. So, can you just forever pass your curse back and forth amongst each other?
Cursing back and forth forever.
You know,
Hmm.
like
I
in
would think
it
so,
follows.
logically.
Right, and it follows, right, that they have a sex demon thing, so they're just fucking each other forever, and then they both have it, right?
I mean, it tracks. Honestly, the first thing that came to my mind was that one card in Cards Against Humanity, pooping back and forth forever.
Oh, God.
Forever. Well, then you could at least find somebody and have an agreement with them, and stop yourself from passing it on to other people, and just kind of continue being like, well, it's your turn to take custody of the werewolf,
Right. And you know what? To be honest, if I came across somebody who was in this predicament, I would join that because I would love the experience. I'd love to be a werewolf for a while. We'll trade off every 101 days or so.
right.
Well, here's the thing,
Really, I
too.
just
Like, in most stories of the Rougarou, like, he jumps out, like, more to scare, not to kill, but just to scare them enough to defend themselves so they get cut. And that way the curse passes on to the person who is defending themselves.
Mm.
Okay.
Okay. Well, actually, that kind of tracks because a lot of the stories that we hear about Rougarou, they never like directly attack anyone. There's very little, if any, that I've found of stories of these creatures directly attacking someone. It was always, yeah, like essentially a really cheesy jump scare.
Yep.
Well, that makes so there is still some humanity within you while you're in your wolf form. I take it.
Kind of makes you wonder, right? Man, I really wish Aaron was here for this because we would be barreling off into that topic. But no, there might be something to that. I mean, do you retain some of your humanity, and is that why your activity is to cause mischief more than harm because you're trying to expose yourself and to relieve the curse?
Right.
I like that. I like that a lot, actually.
It's silver linings, right? Well, not silver because
Yeah, that would be bad.
right. But bronze, bronze linings.
Bronze lining. Yeah, I'll take the bronze medal.
Story of my life.
Right. Now, interestingly enough, there are some ways to protect yourself from becoming a Rougarou other than just being on your best behavior. These beasts don't seem to be the brightest, and they can easily be outsmarted. Now, this is something that I dug up, and Sonnie, I had never heard about this until just a few days ago, but I'm going to tackle this, and apparently you've heard about this long before I did, so this is going to be great. All you got to do to outsmart a Rougarou is lay out 13 small objects, like coins or beans, by your doors
Mhm.
and windows. An approaching Rougarou will attempt to count the objects, but Rougarous can't count higher than 12. So he will be unable to count all of the objects, which will confound it to the point that he won't stop trying to count them all. It will be so distracted that the creature won't be able to enter your home, and he will eventually end up leaving when the sun rises and he becomes human again. I've heard of a lot of wacky esoteric shit in my life, Sonny, but this one's up there.
It's even a children's book. Like it's called 1-2 Rougarou instead of like 1-2 Buckle Your Shoe or whatever that book is. And it's exactly that tale. Like the children have to set out 13 stones across the doorway. That way the Rougarou could not enter because he cannot count the stones and then left when the sun came up. It's exactly the same, but it's in a children's book now.
I love this logic. It's my favorite part of the Rougarou lore.
Right?
You know, he can't. He's. I mean, I imagine him getting like super frustrated, and he's like 10, 11, 12.
12!
Well, that's a 12.
1! 2! Oh god, this is so good. Sonny, we got to track down a copy of this book because I am totally gonna read it on the Patreon for people.
You should.
Oh, easy peasy. It's on Amazon.
All right, yeah. I'm ordering it as soon as we get done with this conversation. Oh man. I do love how many children's books involving cryptids have been coming out in the last 5 years, though. It's kind of beautiful.
Yeah,
Agreed.
I think I agree. It is. My child is too old for that kind of stuff, so it's a really. I mean, it's kind of annoying because I've had really good friends write some of these and they send me copies and I don't know what to do with them.
So what you mean is she's not old enough. She's actually at that uncomfortable middle age where childlike whimsy is kind of put on the back burner. But that comes back to you in your late 20s and 30s, I promise you. With a vengeance. You will spend all the money
for my potential grandchildren. So that's also a possibility. I mean, I have them either way, but I do love it. I agree. I think it's a fun way to get the kids involved at an early age. Indoctrinate your kids to love cryptids.
Hook them while they're young.
Yep.
Just like the Catholic Church.
Just like
Christ, if only we could get their numbers.
Yep. We're getting there. That's why I sell lollipops at my booths.
Hey, I see what you're doing, trying to hook them with candy. Man, you're slick. That's
don't tell my secrets.
Yeah, bleep that one out. But I'm going to use that tool for the next event that I go to.
Sure, yeah, by all means.
Okay. Well, anyway, that's kind of like the wrap up of the basic history of the Rougarou and like from where it's gone from French folklore up until now. Now, that doesn't mean that the story is anywhere near from being over because now we hit the modern age and you have sightings, you have people researching this and pursuing it actively out in the field and also through academics and folklore. So when I say that this is definitely not the last time that we're going to be talking about the Rougarou, I sincerely mean it. I'm hoping that the next time that we tackle on this, we're going to be able to get Aaron Dietz involved, and then also a couple of friends of mine from the South who may have actually, one in particular, may have actually had an encounter with a Rougarou probably only 12 feet away from it.
Mm-hmm.
And it's a really interesting story. I'll see if I can get him to come on and tell it because it's way more horrifying if he does.
Sure.
If I say it, it's like two-dimensional. It's hard to relay somebody else's fear.
Sure. Yeah. Well, I can share a story real quick. I've had one Rougarou report exactly. And this one's really neat because it has everything. And people that listen to me talk, I'm sure you guys have heard me talk about it before, but maybe this is your first time here, so let's get into it. I have one lady who was abducted by aliens. So her and her husband and her friend were walking down, I don't know what the main street is called in New Orleans, but the main strip there on their way to go out that evening. What's it called?
Bourbon Street, I'm assuming.
Okay, probably, yes. The way that she described it to me, it's just that's where everybody goes. and they were just kind of out for an evening on the town or whatever, and then that's the last thing they all remember. They all woke up. Well, her and her now husband, it wasn't her husband at the time, woke up at their separate homes. The friend woke up and she was driving her car. What does this have to do with the Rougarou? Well, eventually, later on down the line, they did get some regression therapy. Well, the husband and wife did. The friend did not. They got regression therapy and have memories of being abducted and in different places at that with different types of creatures. So there's a lot of issues with regression therapy. Take that for what it is, but they did have missing time and woke up the next day in different places without having gone out beforehand. The reason why they went out was because the day before that, the friend, the girl, she broke up with her boyfriend. And while she's breaking up with him for very normal reasons, says that he shape shifted into a werewolf in front of her, just kind of with a quickness. Shifted into a wolf, shifted back. She freaked out further and was like, "Yeah, I'm like definitely ending this relationship. It's fucking weird." And they were all kind of going out that night for her to kind of get over what had happened. And then the next day they're fucking abducted by aliens. So again, take that story with whatever you would like. There is a whole book about it. It's called, oh my gosh, I think it's Orbduction in the French Quarter or something like that.
Oh, please verify that title and let us know, because I would definitely love to read this. What happened to the guy? Did he just disappear after this?
Yeah, they never talked again.
What the?
It's but she's never really come out and like verified. It's only been the husband and wife that they're the ones that wrote the book. The wife, she's had a lifetime of high strain. She was allegedly abducted as a baby. Like, she was adopted by a baby. First of all, she was born in a city that sank, right? That was swallowed up by a sinkhole. It all sounds crazy, but like it's verifiable. And then at 6 months into being adopted, she was abducted by her mom, her adopted mom, being stopped in the middle of the street by a spaceship, and they just took the baby and gave her back, sometime later. It's a really insane history that she's got there. But yeah, I know that the title definitely has Orbducted in it, so it's easy to find. But anyway, that's my only Rougarou, potential Rougarou sighting I've ever taken. Besides, we had a guy named Roy Stubblefield on the Wednesday show. You can go listen to his interview. I believe Roy Stubblefield is in the title, who tells his encounter in Louisiana with what he describes as a dog man, but never actually saw it shapeshift. And I'm sure we'll talk about the differences there if there are any. But
well, that's what I find really fascinating is, like, most of the time people either have suspicions that a human being is a Rougarou or they see the Rougarou. Very, very rarely, if at all, do you ever hear about somebody witnessing the actual transformation.
Yeah.
I have one that is like that, though, unless, well, it's more like the Skinwalker situation that you touched on earlier. So around 70 plus years back, during the weekends in South Louisiana, Bayou Town, all the men would go play cards and the wives would go gather in one home while the men were away. Over time, the women began noticing a peeping Tom. One weekend, the men made a plan. They pretended to go play cards, but were actually hiding out. Sure enough, the man came by and peeked in the window. The men came shouting after him. The peeping Tom, the one that the men shot him, one of the men shot him. As they approached the man on the ground, he morphed into a dog and ran off.
Well, so it was reverse. He started as a man and then turned into a dog and ran off.
It looked like a man. I imagine it's dark. So, yeah.
Okay.
Interesting.
Did they happen to give any insight onto how it looked after the transformation? I mean, was it a straight up dog or was it more of a dog man, or do we not know?
They just said it morphed into a dog and ran off. So apparently they saw some kind of transformation.
I don't blame you, dog man. I really don't. I'd run off into the woods too if I could. But that's not the only one. You got another story from the South, don't you, Sonnie?
Yeah. A friend's mom tells that when she was a little girl, she would go with her grandma to the trapping camp, which is popular in the South. Obviously, trap animals, they'll use it for meat or for whatever. Um,
Sorry, no,
her
I can't
camp had
stop
all.
getting the cannibal. The
You can't
music
stop
was in my
what?
head. Go ahead. Yeah, the
Oh,
Trapper song. Go ahead.
nice. So her camp had all the furs and hanging cans, like you would imagine, like you'd see in any swamp movie, among other things hanging outside. One day her grandma went to check something, probably a trap. A few minutes later, she came running back to the camp, slammed the door, and just kept saying Rougarou over and over. She could hear all the cans and stuff rattling outside the camp like someone moving around. When they finally went outside, everything was thrown around, but nothing was there.
Hmm. See,
Interesting.
yet again, they love to come and cause mischief and distress, but don't necessarily directly attack anyone.
Right.
Hmm.
Hmm.
Which poses again, is there some humanity left in them that causes them not to?
Yeah, exactly. Or does the peeping Tom angle actually just point to it being just a dirty dog, little hermit cryptid?
I mean,
You
it
went
could be.
there. Of course you went.
They're already fucking up their Lent. You know what I mean? So we can't trust them.
Exactly. Exactly. I
Dog
don't
for
trust.
Pope.
I love it. Anyway, but yeah, I honestly like Asherz. I know that I said that I had like a stack of books sent to me, and I'm still plowing through those. So yeah, we're definitely going to come back and touch on the Rougarou again, and this is going to go a little bit further when we come back for Beasts and Beyond for next season. Sonny and I here are going to do some more digging into Louisianian cryptids, and do a little bit of research and see how a lot of this stuff kind of crosses over, because there's a lot of weird shit in the swamps.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Indeed.
Well,
Yeah.
I mean, for sure. I mean, I'm very excited. Obviously, I've never been to Louisiana.
Oh, we got to
Um,
fix that.
the
Yep.
problem is, here's the thing about it is that I already know if I go there, I'm not coming back. And
Oh yeah, you will.
oh, really? You think so?
Shoot
Yeah,
alone.
Oh,
trust me,
man.
it'll take one summer, and that's all it'll take. You'll be like, "Yep, done. I'll come back, but not staying."
Um,
Also true.
so I'm definitely very curious to learn more about, what they got going on down there. But, because I think this is fun, I think it's fun to speculate and theorize. Let's, just kind of take a look at our baby brains right now. These are our baby brains because we've deep dived a little bit, right, collectively, but not
Mhm.
so much. Um, I mean, what the hell do you think's up with these things? Are they related to Dogman? Let's talk about that for a second. What do you guys think?
I think so. And the reason that I say that is I have a theory as to why we're seeing this giant boom in Dogman like creatures pop up.
Okay.
And all right, so we're gonna head off over into UFO and Jacques Vallée territory here for a second, and
Sure.
let's briefly touch on one of my favorite books, Passport to Magonia. All right,
Okay.
so Vallée postulates in not just that book, but several of his other books that it kind of it takes the psychical circuit of human consciousness in order for phenomena to complete the circuit, to really interact and to connect and to, I don't know, expose themselves to humanity. Now you look through the ages, and collectively, the consciousness and its understanding of strange things will evolve. So, back in medieval times, you had fairies and you had gnomes and you had things like that. You move a little bit further into like 1800s, then you start getting strange cryptids, beasts of the wild, things like that. Then we start hitting into the age of science and we start getting UFOs, and we're starting to see and hear more things about ghosts and paranormal phenomena. My theory with all of it is all of this stuff is the same shit. It's the same thing.
Hmm.
It purely depends on who's looking at it, who's interacting with it. But that would insinuate that it's just a phenomenon and there's not a human element to it. And that's where I kind of have trouble reconciling these two concepts, is because if you look into Tales of the Dogman, the Rougarou, lycanthropy, things like that, the human element is a big part of that. So, from a folklore stance, the application of humanity into the story makes sense for cautionary tales. But on the scientific edge of it, if you really look at the broader scope of the paranormal, is it just a dog man because that's what makes the most sense to you as an individual or to the small community that you're a part of? Is that why we have group events where a collection of people will experience the same thing but nobody else does? I don't know. There's a lot to unpack there.
Mm-hmm. Well, I think the most telling part of that, the kind of key there is to consider the fact that there are people that aren't into these things at all. I've never heard of, some of these creatures and then still see them. Um, which tells me that whatever the phenomena is intelligent and it has the influence over how we perceive it. But I agree with you that they're the same.
No, actually, yeah, that's a great way of putting it, Asherz. Bravo,
Yeah,
I appreciate
yeah.
that.
I think that we kind of our brains kind of work well. They kind of work on our brains, and that's why we are inclined to see things that we would kind of more believe in seeing, and
Yes.
we were kind of work together to come up with what it is that we perceive seeing. And it depends on you, depends on who you are. I saw Mothman. Probably it was Mothman because I already believed in Bigfoot. Probably I needed to see Mothman because it fucked with the perception of reality for me a little bit. And so therefore, maybe it's different for other people, right? They don't believe in Bigfoot, so they have to see Bigfoot. Depends on who you are and what your beliefs are. And again, I think that whatever it is that phenomena wants you to see it, it wants you to know that you're seeing something that's weird.
Yeah. No, and that's the thing. That's the thing that drives me nuts about all of this stuff
Yeah.
is like after my first few encounters, it literally feels like every time I go out into the field, something out there literally just pops open the top of my skull, digs around in my brain, and like, ooh, that one will work. And I just pull it out and throw it in front of me.
Right. Well, and that's a great explanation for witnesses that continue to have high strangeness in their life and different. I mean, you'll have so many people, and it's like, really? So there's people in their lifetime that won't even so much as see, random lights in the sky. But then you got all these people that will see multiple different strange phenomena in their lifetime. And well, yeah, it does make perfect sense when there's a message to it and you're not getting the message the first time that the phenomena is influencing what you're seeing. Anyway, that's a whole nother episode for a different day. But
but no,
It's all
seriously.
about your openness to it.
Yeah.
I didn't hear you. What'd you say?
I said it's all about your openness to it. Like, so
It
to
is.
speak, keep your third eye open, that kind of thing. Like, if you
It
believe, then more
I agree.
likely you are to see it.
Yeah, I agree with that. Again, I think we work in tandem together. It's just we work in tandem subconsciously. It does not. It does it on purpose.
Yeah. Yeah.
We don't know that we're working with it. It's just the way it is. No, I agree that there is some connection there. I'm skeptical about shape-shifting humans in general. That is a hard one for me to swallow because I believe that if humans could shapeshift, the rich would have already found a way to profit off of that. You know what I mean? Like, because I would fucking give up all of my life savings, everything that I own to be able to turn into an animal, I would. And I think that, again, they would have found some way to profit off of it. However, that doesn't mean that people aren't seeing strange humanoid type creatures, whether they be in wolf form or bunny form. Around the world.
Back to the bunnies.
Yeah, it's about the bunnies this time. Easter's next week, so it's fitting. But yeah, but I think that it is the same phenomena happening. Whatever it is you want to call it, if you want to call it a Rougarou or a dog man, or what the various names that they have for it. Any idea if that lore is still rich within French Canadian culture? I don't know much about the French Canadian.
You don't hear too much about it from the French Canadian side too much anymore. I mean, it still lingers around very much as like a spooky bedtime story for your kids, but the mythology is not as thriving and doesn't feel near as alive as it does down in Louisiana.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Even in Louisiana, though, like it's kind of being lost to the generations. Like the best
True.
tales that you can hear of the Rougarou are from older generations. And actually, for that reason, there's a Rougarou festival in my hometown that was started in 2012. And funny tagline is, "If the Rougarou doesn't have a place to live, then neither do we." So I'm
Oh, so
guessing
they
it's
love
like a
the
coastal
Rougarou.
restoration kind of thing.
I
Sure.
love it, and we got to go.
Does it do well? I mean, yeah. Have you ever been to it?
Yeah,
Is it a
I haven't
happening
been.
festival?
I was away from home by the time it started, but it seems to be a big success. It's still going, and it started in 2012.
I love that.
Let's
Okay.
check this out. This might be a good excuse to get you down to Louisiana for you to check it out firsthand and have a good reason to come and visit. Yeah.
I'm totally here for it. Yeah, you don't have to tell me twice to come to the Rougarou Festival. Fuck.
Right?
What?
Come hang out with a bunch of weirdos and cryptids. Okay.
Me? What? Yeah, absolutely. Um,
I'll be there yesterday.
I find that interesting that it's the lore is kind of dying out because I feel like Rougarou is getting very popular in the cryptid community. What do you guys think?
Dogman is.
Dogman definitely is. But I don't know. I feel like people are like, "Oh, the Rougarou." I feel like people are gonna look at the title of this episode and they're like, "Oh, the Rougarou." They're gonna get wet or erect and they're gonna listen to it immediately.
Good. I hope they cream their jeans over it because we're going to be coming back to do this a few more times. I mean, like I said, we're really just scratching the surface. We didn't really go into like the long list of very impressive modern day encounters of this, and we're going to
Right.
compile a whole list of those and come back next season and share them with you, and hopefully with a couple of firsthand encounter experiencers.
Yeah.
Indeed.
Yeah.
You know,
I would love
yeah.
that. If you or anyone you know has had a Rougarou sighting,
Yeah, hit us up.
let us know. We'll have you on the show. We have a whole nother show just for that kind of stuff. That is, the season is airing after this ends, actually. So, you can come on and share it there. You can come on in a full discussion about the Rougarou. Maybe you've dug into it more than we have because you've had a sighting. I'd be really interested to hear how that's influenced your life and things going forward. But
And
yeah,
you'll
no,
be able to hear much more of my velvety voice on that series as well, not to mention all of the terrible jokes that I do trying to make songs out of all of the topics that we cover. But that's an album coming down the line in the future. So we'll get there.
Oh my God, I can't wait.
you have already promised an album, so you got to make good on it now.
Oh, but we got like 4 or 5 parody ideas at least. And like, believe me, I've been sitting here thinking, what do I do with the Rougarou? Like it's on the tip of
There's
my
your
tongue.
line.
Right,
You
that's
literally
your
just
song.
said it. What do you do with the Rougarou?
I mean, you got to hit, flex those music muscles. Get us an album. Um, well,
I mean, Sonny can tell you that's not going to be too hard. I can make this happen. Don't worry.
we'll sell it. We'll put it at the booths, right? Every at the Rougarou Festival.
Oh my God. There goes my new career. I'm going to quit podcasting and become like an acoustic singer-songwriter who does Weird Al Yankovic level cryptid style parodies of songs.
It's
Holy shit.
It could work.
Yeah,
I
cut
support
that out.
that.
I don't want anybody else to steal the idea.
Smart. Good idea.
There.
But yeah, no, I feel like it's definitely it's grown in popularity. People are starting to pay a little bit more attention to that kind of stuff, and of course, you're right. Dogman in general has just really, I mean, that's the new Bigfoot. Ooh,
It
that's
is exploded.
spicy, but it is the new Bigfoot.
Yeah.
Some people are going to feel some type of way about that, but that's not, I don't make the rules. So,
But see, yet again, like I think it's the same thing. It just depends on who's looking at it.
the phenomenon itself is changing, making it more popular.
Does the Sasquatch make more sense to you, and is that why you saw it? Do
Right.
dogs make more sense to you, and that's why you saw Dogman? Like, I don't know. There's something.
Like Ashley was saying, like where does Skinwalker, like morphing come into that? Like the Skinwalkers that has that human element. So how does that play into it? Like that kind of teeters the line.
Yeah. Well, and that one's tough because I mean, that one's getting really popular as well as a topic. And that one is kind of a closed practice and everybody's just kind of throwing it around. Skinwalker. But
Yeah, that one's kind of getting out of hand now.
a little
And
bit, yeah, a little bit.
I was really, really hesitant to even touch on the Skinwalkers when we did the Uinta series, but I kept it short and just focused on the basic history of it instead of the fantastical nature. And honestly, be very, very careful about where you put the word Skinwalker or even speak it at this point, because it is trademarked and they will come after your ass. It's getting wild out there.
Really,
Wow.
it's trademarked.
Yeah, no, seriously, these they are not screwing around
Well, good
anymore.
for them.
If you're small fries, like me, they don't really give a shit about me. Although they, pretty sure they did try to hack in all of my accounts after the visit, but that's a whole other story.
That's just part of doing what you do.
It is at this point.
Get
If I
used to
haven't
it.
been hacked at least once a month, I'm not doing something right.
Well,
So
right.
I gotta up the game a little bit.
One of my actually, it was Pato, the former co-host of On Wednesdays We Talk Weird, told me just today that he was denied on the TSA pre-check thing.
Oh shit.
Yeah, and I would like to think it's the Wednesday show's fault. Probably is. His wife wasn't. His kids were fine. Just him.
Oh, it may very well be then. I will tell you what though, I do have one goal for all of my research moving forward. By the time I hit 50, if I am not being harassed by the men in black, I have failed. And I want it. Like I want this to happen. So
I'm still waiting for it. I know any day
Right?
now.
Bring it on.
I know. But every time there's a stray helicopter in the sky, I'm always like, is that? Anytime I pass a businessman on the streets, I'm always wondering.
Hoping,
Always hoping, right? Every time I get that weird phone call with the no caller ID, I'm like, this is it, isn't it?
or you just get the
Yeah. Yep. And then I'm like, oh, finally, I'm Richard Gere. It's
right? Indrid? Is that you? You squirrely little guy, you.
next time I should just answer and be like, I've been waiting. And let's see what happens. Maybe it'll open the
About
conversation.
time.
I'll see you in time.
If you can
Oh,
out
man.
menace the Men in Black, I mean, maybe that's why they stay away. They're like, I'm not fucking with those people. They're crazy.
Honestly, it's probably why, because as soon as they open up those lines of communication, bitch, I will never stop harassing them. Oh my God. I'm
No,
gonna
I
be
know.
like,
I will
so
start.
how long you been doing this?
Their number.
You want some coffee? Would you like some pie? Why don't you sit down? Tell me your life story. No, wait, where are you going? Come back. What, get the car. We'll follow. Yeah.
Tell me what
I would Men in Black the Men in Black.
Yeah. So, I don't. That's probably why. Like I said, that's probably why they stay away. Anyway, well, I don't know. Anybody have any final thoughts about the Rougarou?
Personally, I don't. I think this is a good stopping point, and we can come back to revisit this next season. Sonny, you have anything?
No, I think that's correct.
Okay.
I'm good with that, doing research for another one, because I'll have a lot more firsthand accounts too.
Perfect. Yeah, no,
Yeah,
that's
let's work on
totally
that.
fine. Sonny, where can people find you at and what you do?
I don't know what to say
You
about
better
that.
plug Mostly Naughty.
Oh my gosh. Okay, so I am a professional graphic designer, but on the side, I also do macrame art, including one that is the Mothman at mostlyNaughty.com, and that is KNOTTY.com.
Okay, perfect. And Flood, what about you?
XV Planis, EXVPLANIS. Punch that into your Google, and you'll see all of the horse shit that is connected to me, whether you like it or not.
And if for whatever reason you guys didn't catch either of those, the links are in the description. So go check them out. And then, I guess that wraps up Beasts and Beyond this season. We will be back, and that is a threat. We'll see you next time.